Bene advenisti. This is Acroasis XXIII from Caput Nonum, Chapter 9, pages 72 through 74. Today we are going to continue our discussion on the pronoun declension, the declinatio pronominalis. And we'll start, as we always do, with a recognitio, with a review. And so let's talk a little bit more about what we know on those demonstrative pronouns. The first thing is that a demonstrative pronoun is used to point out something. Hence, the word demonstrative coming from demonstrare, to point out. And a demonstrative pronoun functions either as a true pronoun, that is, it takes the place of a noun, or it functions as an adjective describing a noun which is present. This will make more sense the more that we deal with them. And all of our pronouns in Latin, as you will come to find out, have an irregular declension, but it's the same set of endings, so it's not that bad once you learn two little forms that are irregular. Discite, learn, this is brand new stuff. Hic, haec, hoc. We already talked about that one a little bit. This is used in reference to something that is very close to the speaker, either in time or space. So, for example, I would say this vessel, because it's right in front of me, and in fact it's in my hands, so it's right here. Now, something that is outside of the view of the screen, something that I would point to over there, I would use ille, illa, illud, something that's farther away from me, either in space or time. And the time aspect is important here. So if I have just been talking about something, if I've talked about a whole bunch of stuff, the thing that I talked about last, I would describe with hic, haec, hoc. The thing that I was talking about before, I would use ille, illa, illud. This makes much more sense in actual usage. So let's look at an example. So exempli gratia. We're going to talk about two students. We'll talk about Koigmenus, or Kevin in English, and we'll talk about Tyler, or Tegularius in Latin. So we have our sentence, Koigmenus et Tegularius sunt boni discipuli. Hic multa scribit, et ille semper auscultat. So we have Kevin and Tyler are good students. This one, that is the one I just talked about, writes a lot. And that one, the one that I was talking about before, always listens. I could also express this in English by saying Kevin and Tyler are good students. The latter writes a lot. The former always listens. So when you're talking about two and you want to continue talking about them, you assign them one of these pronouns. Again, this is something that it helps to know at first, but it will really sink in the more that you see it and the more that you use it. So don't stress out about this too much. All right, now we're going to introduce a brand new pronoun, ISTE, ISTA, ISTUD. It's a lot like ille, or so it seems at first, but whereas ille can be positive, so the or the famous or that one, the one that I was talking about, ISTE is the bad that, the one that's farther away from you, but it's farther away because you choose to be farther away from it. It tends to have a pejorative tone to it. It doesn't have to, but it frequently does. So, for example, we could say noli esse iste homo. Don't be that guy. And this is a colloquial expression we use in English, and you know what I mean when I say don't be that guy. It's a little bit negative. Again, in English, we lack all of the demonstrative pronouns that Latin has. Latin is much more colorful in that respect, and so ille and iste, while they can both be translated as that, has a little bit more in the way of nuance. Again, this will make more sense the more experience that you have with the language, reading, and I hope speaking. Let's move on. Now, the declension of pronouns is not as hard as it seems at first. We're going to do an example here. Let's go ahead and try vir iste. Now, ISTE, ISTA, ISTUD will decline just like ille, illa, illud. That is to say, it'll have a special form in genitive and dative singular, but all the other forms will look exactly like first and second declension adjectives. So what I want you to do right now is to write down the declension of wir iste in your notes. You'll need to pause the video in order to do this, and then when you finish doing that, resume the video and we'll check our work together. Alright, so we have wir iste, viri istius, viro isto, virum istum, viro isto, viri isti, virorum istorum, viris istis, viros istos, viris istis. Again, you'll notice the only funny thing about this is the genitive and dative singular. By the way, notice it's viri istius. That second I is long, so it pulls that accent. And this will be true of every adjective or noun that uses the pronoun declension, and we're going to see some more. So let's talk about those special 9 adjectives which use the pronoun declension. We can remember them with the phrase unus nauta, that is, one sailor. So these are special. I'm going to give you a list of some special adjectives that have the pronoun declension. That is to say that they look like first, second declension adjectives, but they use that special genitive and dative singular form, and that's what's going to make them different. These are listed in your book on page 74, but I'm going to give them to you now as well. Please write them down and write down some definitions for them as we go through. I'll ask you to come back to this list before this video is out. So for unus we have unus, una, unum, meaning one. Then for nullus, we have nullus, nulla, nullum, meaning none, or no is in a quantity. So, yes, we have no bananas in that sense. Then we have ulus, ulla, ullum, which is the opposite of nullus, meaning any. Then solus, sola, solum, meaning only. Neuter, neutra, neutrum, meaning neither. Alius, alia, aliud, meaning other. Uter, utra, utrum, which is the antonym, it's the opposite of neuter, it means either or which of the two. And then totus, tota, totum, meaning all or whole. And alter, altera, alterum, meaning the other of two. I know I went through those quickly. If you need to, pause the video, or you can grab your book, open it up to page 74. They're all there. Notice, by the way, that neuter, uter, and alter all refer to one of two. So neuter, neither of two. Uter, which or either of two. Alter, one or the other of two. Alright, so when you have those all written down in your notes, then proceed. Otherwise, pause, pull out your book, fill that in, because these are extremely important. You have to memorize these. It's a special vocabulary thing. I can't emphasize that enough. When you're ready to go on, but pause the video if you need to. Declinatio pronominum, the declension of pronouns. So we're going to go ahead and practice with one of these adjectives. So we'll take the noun periculum and we'll say no danger, no danger, no danger. Not any danger, literally. So we have periculum nullum. Now, I want you to decline this in your notes. I expect to see this written down in your notes, the next notebook check that we have. I want you to write this down in your notes, pause the video, write it down, resume the video, check your work with me. Alright, are you ready? So we have periculum nullum, periculi nullius, periculi nulli, periculum nullum, periculo nullo, pericula nulla, periculorum nullorum, periculis nullis, pericula nulla, periculis nullis. Alright, did you have that all correct? Doesn't matter if you did, it's most important that you try, but fix it in your notes if you messed up. Alright, so we have which brother will win. Now, I'm not going to ask you to translate the whole thing. I'm going to give you part of that. So, blank frater vincet. So, the brother will win. We want to say which brother will win. Look back at your notes for unus nauta. Pick the best one of those 9 adjectives. Choose the correct gender, number, and case. Write it down on your paper. Pause the video, you'll need to, and then resume when you're ready to check your work. Alright, did you pick uter, frater, vincet? If you did, that's correct. Alright, moving on. The next sentence is a little, would be a little bit more complicated, but I've already done the heavy lifting for you. So you have the liberty of the whole country is at stake. Libertas patriae agitur. Now, agitur is a passive form. Don't worry about it. Just trust me. It's a verb. So we're going to say the liberty of the whole country is at stake. So we have the liberty of the country is at stake. I need you to put that adjective in there. Pause the video. Think about it. Write your answer down. Resume the video when you're ready. Okay. Did you write libertas totius patriae agitur? If so, you are correct. All right. And for our last sentence, I always mean, for that disease there is no cure. I'm going to ask you to translate a lot here. So I give you morbo blank est blank remedium. Make those agree in gender, number, and case. Pause the video, think about it, resume the video when you're ready to check. So let's look at our work. So we have morbo ISTE nullum est remedium. For right now, what I'd like you to do is to go on to your homework, which is the Google form. I'm going to put that URL up on the screen. Valete discipuli Donicum Crastinum. Until tomorrow. Bye-bye.